He was just the janitor to everyone else, a shadow in khaki, blending into the marble floors and the faint smell of polish. People walked past him every day without a glance, never noticing the quiet dignity in his tired eyes or the rhythm in his step. But the grand piano in the hotel lobby knew better. To that gleaming Steinway, he wasn't a janitor at all. He was a ghost of music long forgotten. Every night, after the guests disappeared and the chandeliers dimmed to a soft golden hush, he'd drift toward the piano like a moth to light. With gentle hands, he'd wipe away the dust from its black and ivory keys, his fingers hesitating, remembering. They lingered there, trembling slightly, as if aching to belong again. No one ever noticed. No one ever asked his name. Not until she did. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances and the hidden talents buried in ordinary souls, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us keep telling stories that remind the world to look closer. Her name was Veronica Langford, a name that carried the weight of luxury and power. She was the CEO of a global hotel chain, a woman with eyes as sharp as her stilettos and a voice that could slice through silence like glass. Every step she took seemed to command the world beneath her. One late evening, during an unannounced inspection, she paused at the lobby's edge, heels clicking against marble. There he was, the janitor, softly humming to the piano as he cleaned. A faint smile tugged at her lips. "Do you even know what that is?" she asked, her tone dripping with amusement. David looked up just slightly, his voice calm but steady. "Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major," he replied. The name rolled off his tongue like a confession, and for the first time in years, his heart dared to beat louder than his fear. Veronica laughed, a short, cold sound that echoed off the walls. "Well then," she smirked, "if you can actually play Chopin, I'll marry you." It was a cruel joke, a challenge meant to humiliate, not inspire. But David's gaze didn't flinch. He just watched her walk away, not realizing that her careless words had cracked something open inside him. A door that had been sealed for decades. Once, David's life had been a symphony of promise, a prodigy, a scholar at a European conservatory. His fingers once danced for audiences who held their breath, until the night everything changed. A car crash took his mother, his scholarship and the piano that carried his dreams. After that, music became silence, and silence became survival. He cleaned floors to stay alive, not because he'd lost his gift, but because the world rarely makes room for broken artists. Only the piano in that lobby still remembered him. Only the keys forgave him for the years he'd stayed away. That night, he couldn't sleep. Her mocking words echoed in his mind, half insult, half invitation. He closed his eyes and heard Chopin again, whispering from somewhere deep inside. So he returned to the piano after hours, early mornings, late nights, when no one was watching. And for the first time in forever, he began to play. At first his fingers trembled, clumsy, unsure, like they were learning to speak again after years of silence. But slowly, note by note, the music found its way back. It wasn't just melody, it was memory. It was everything he had lost and everything he still dared to feel. Hope began to whisper through every chord. A week later, the grand lobby shimmered with light and chatter. It was the night of the annual fundraiser. Guests arrived in glittering gowns and polished tuxedos, their laughter floating above the sound of clinking glasses. A jazz trio was supposed to perform, but fate, it seemed, had other plans. Their pianist had cancelled last minute, and the Steinway stood alone, waiting in silence. David noticed, and for once, he didn't ignore the pull inside him. He removed his gloves, folded his apron neatly on the chair, and walked toward the piano. The crowd went still. They thought he was just there to move it, to clean it. Maybe, but then he sat down. He took a slow breath and played. The first notes of Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major floated through the air like a ghost from another world. Soft, haunting, and impossibly beautiful. Conversations died mid-sentence. Champagne glasses paused mid-air. Every sound in the room surrendered to his music. Veronica turned, startled. Her eyes widened when she saw him. The janitor she had mocked now commanding her entire ballroom with nothing but his hands and his heart. Each note was a confession of pain, of love, of loss, of forgiveness. The music didn't just echo through the hall. It wrapped itself around every soul in that room. Some guests wept without knowing why. Others stood frozen, afraid to breathe. Veronica's polished composure cracked, her lips parted. But no words came out. For the first time in her life, she wasn't in control. Music was, when the final note faded. Silence lingered like prayer, then applause, tentative at first, then swelling into thunder, but David didn't bask in it. He rose quietly, bowed once, and walked away before the clapping even stopped. He didn't need their praise. He had already said everything he ever wanted to say, through the music. Later, Veronica found him near the service corridor. Her usual confidence had melted into something raw. "Why didn't you ever tell anyone?" she whispered. David looked at her gently. "No one ever asked," he said. Her eyes shimmered with something that looked a lot like regret, but he wasn't searching for sympathy. He'd already found peace. She had mocked him with a joke about marriage. He had answered with grace. From that day on, the janitor was gone. In his place stood the hotel's new resident pianist, his uniform traded for a suit and quiet pride. And Veronica, she changed too. Her sharpness softened, her voice carried warmth instead of judgment. Sometimes, late at night, she would sit near the piano as David played, listening, not just with her ears, but with her heart. If this story touched your soul, please like, share, and subscribe to HOA-GLORIOUS Stories for more tales that remind us of the beauty in second chances. Every view, every comment, every share helps us spread a little more kindness where it's needed most. Before you go, tell us, what would you have done if you were in David's place? We'd love to hear your thoughts and your stories below.